Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. This is Franz, Sidney, and I'm so happy to see you today. I have a very special guest with me all the way from Colorado, and her name is Jen Recla. So, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate being here.
It's a pleasure because today we're really gonna help you guys listen to the show, and that's my mission. It's been 4 years going, trying to help you to reclaim the life that you really deserve. You know how we're gonna help you? We're gonna help you because a lot of fear sometimes stops us from living the life that we could live if we just had the courage to go through, change the mindset. And fear, is a cause of anxiety, is a cause of emotional blocks, and it can be a very, very little feeling niggling. Oh, just stay there where you're comfortable. And children don't have fear. They just jump and do stuff, and they get hurt, and then they get back and they learn to walk, to talk, and swim and go to school. But the adults, no, we just want comfort. We want to be as we are because the mind is designed to protect us and to keep us safe and alive. Our mind is not designed to make us have more fun or to experiment. That's only when we are young. And as we close the frontal cortex and 24 years old on average, it's really difficult to embrace something new because we think it's going to be painful. But it is exactly when we try something, when we experiment, and we have a neuroplasticity of the brain really going in to open new pathways. And it's exactly when we learn, when we ask ourselves, what am I learning from my failures? That opens up a new path and we can really get a new life. And Jen is a specialist in this, and she will tell us all how her own failure, her own lack of success in one event open up so many new doors. And so we want to see exactly what was the situation that led her to this, cathartic moment, like, oh, I can change and I can still be good. Actually, I'm gonna be better. So tell us a little bit what was going on when you were, was it in Los Angeles?
Yeah, I moved to Los Angeles right after college. I went to college for theater. It was my dream from a little girl to be in movies, to be in film and television. So I moved out there and I auditioned and I got the headshots and I met lots of people and I got rejection after rejection after rejection. And you going into that, I knew that there was going to be a lot of rejection and a lot of failure, and I was going to hear a lot of things that didn't always feel so good. And after
Mm.
3 years of that and not feeling like I was really being successful, I remember this one moment where I think I was sitting in my apartment or laying down, I'd fallen asleep and taken a nap, and I woke up and my heart was pounding and I was sweating. And I thought to myself, oh my gosh, I'm going to be 25 soon. And 25 is not old by any standard except in Hollywood. And I felt like I've put 3 years into this. I'm not going anywhere and I'm not happy. I have got to change this situation because I don't want to be stuck here. And so that was the moment that I realized I needed to do something different. And I didn't know what to do. I'm from Maryland originally, and so my first thought was, well, maybe I'll go back home, figure things out. Maybe even I'll go back to school and figure out another career path. And so that's what I
Mm.
did. I moved back to Maryland feeling a bit embarrassed, feeling some shame, not feeling so great, but also knowing that if I stayed in that place for too long, I was going to go on a downward spiral. There was still so much life to live and I wanted to be happier. So I decided to move back home. I started working for a hospital and didn't love the job, but loved the leader, loved the boss that I had. She just was this amazing mentor for me. She challenged me in ways, thinking differently, shifting my perspective. The place that I was working, they would pay for me to go back to school and get my master's degree. So that's what I focused on. I need to make money. This boss is amazing. I want to go back to school and figure
Mm.
out what is it that I want to do
Mm.
for the rest of my life. And she working for her, again, even though the work wasn't what I loved, working for her really helped me build my confidence and recognize that the failure that I had was actually a learning opportunity. It was a stepping stone. And the skills that I took with me, being in front of people, not being shy about that, figuring out how I could translate that into a career path was my next focus. And really being in that master's program helped me to realize that while I loved what I was learning about business and finances and all those things, I knew that wasn't the path for me. I wanted to be the one that was in front of the classroom. I wanted to be the one teaching about leadership and strengths and things like that. So that really helped me. That role really helped me uncover, build some awareness around what my strengths are and how I could leverage what I learned from 3 years being in the Los Angeles area and dealing with all of that failure, how I could use it to propel me forward and continue to look at challenges as opportunities and possibilities.
Hmm. You know that you're quite right, because I see the role of a mentor as like the new parent. When we're young, is your parent that, come on, you can do this. Billy, come here, I'll give you a hug. Come on, you can go. Don't worry about the bully. And they kind of supporting you and cheering you up. When you grow up and you're pretty much on your own in the wide world. And it's so good to have somebody there that is just one step ahead and guides you and mentors you. It's reassuring, isn't it? Doesn't that take away the edge of a fear?
Does. And I feel very fortunate that for my first corporate professional role, I had a boss or a leader who I felt like she cared about me as a person and she wanted me to succeed. So all the advice, all the feedback that I got from her, I knew that her intent was to help me grow. And she put me in some scary situations in front of executives. I mean, I remember the first, I think it was some kind of presentation or proposal I had to put together for executives at this huge urban hospital, and it was so scary. She gave me feedback. She was there, but she let me run the show. And that's what was great too. She didn't come in and rescue. She let me falter a little bit and gave me space to take risks and make mistakes. And that really showed me how important that is to do for other people as well. It really shaped how I wanted to show up as a leader for future roles that I had.
Yes, understand it. So, what is it that is blocking people from experimenting, in your own experience as a coach, aside from like
Hmm.
fear of failure, which is obviously a fundamental problem, but what else is
Yeah.
there that might make us feel, oh, I'd rather stuck here in a bad situation that is familiar instead of moving on to a new unfamiliar situation? What is your experience in that, Jen?
I think one of the biggest things that we all have in our head is that people care more than they actually do. So there's this concept of imposter syndrome, which I've definitely experienced. People that I coach or teach have mentioned that they experience this as well. And really, the basic idea behind imposter syndrome is, oh no, they're all going to see that I don't know, that I'm really not the expert, that I don't have all of the answers. They're going to think I'm a fraud. And so pushing past that and recognizing that one, people don't care as much as you think that they care. I mean, I barely remember what I ate yesterday. I don't remember what somebody said necessarily yesterday. So letting go of that and pushing yourself to say, I'm never going to get it completely 100% right. There's more than one right way to do things, and perfection should never be the goal. Progress should be the goal. If you're waiting for perfect, you're never going to get there.
Hmm.
But progress is something that you can make, small steps you can make to build momentum. And I saw a gentleman speak recently at a conference. His name is Daniel Pink. He wrote a book called Drive and some many other books as well. And he shared some research that individuals that were the most motivated, they were motivated by making progress, even if it was small. So progress is motivating. Taking some kind of action or step is motivating. And that is what really helped me get out of my slump when I moved from Los Angeles to Maryland, is I said, I just need to do something. I need to move to action. I need to make some progress that's going to pull me out of this. So recognizing people don't care as much as you think that they care, and just taking a small step. I mean, the small step could be, I want to work out more. Okay, get your clothes out the night before.
Mm.
Just that small step. That could be a trigger for you in the morning. Or it could be, I'm going to set my alarm for 6:15 so I get up before the kids wake up. Something like that.
And that's great. And I don't know, whoever is watching this on video, not listening to the podcast, they will see that I was writing because I took this note about perfection and progress. Because, I have a little meme when the podcast is launched, there's like an image and it will have 2 words because you can't write too much. And I always put like, 2 words that are the main part that we want to remember. And that is progress is more important than perfection.
Yeah.
Haha.
Funny. And that's what I said. I saw your face when I said that. So
Yeah,
that's really cool to see that clicks
it's a
for
good
people.
title. And I want the audience to really, if you listen to the whole episode and you think it's great, but you can't remember anything. That happens to me. Whole Huberman Lab medical lecture, when I remember like testosterone is very good for whatever, then the rest is like, whoop, gone. So if you want to go home with one message, is that perfection is nowhere near as important as progress. We can say, amen, we close here and we're good. And that also happens when we, as women especially, we think about the clothing and the hair has to be perfect before going live or before going to this party. Everything needs to be right on. And maybe you have a cheap nail and you're like, oh, this is going to look awful. People are going to think I'm not all right. Then you go outside.
Yeah.
You forget all about it. Nobody has any clue what you were wearing, but they remember your personality and your charm or whatever. But who cared about what you were wearing?
Well, and the idea of perfection, it makes it seem like there's an arrival to something. And I don't think there's an arrival. We can always get better. We can always get 1% better. So it's more about continuous improvement. And that continuous improvement, that's where the experimentation comes into play. I try to approach work and life like one big experiment. I'm a scientist and I'm going to try something. And then I'm going to say, okay, did it work? What worked about it? And oh, that part didn't work. So let me tweak and fine tune and then try again. And then what worked? What didn't? Tweak, fine tune. There's just constant tweaking and fine tuning, and I've let go of the arrival piece. There's no arrival. Just continue focusing on your purpose. What is it? What's your why? Why are you getting out of bed every morning? What's your why in your work? What's your why in your life? Focus on that. Focus on your values. For me, my most important values are fun and adventure and the things that bring you joy, that strengthen you. So that's my true north. And I know that it's up there and I'm okay with never arriving. I just want to make sure I'm going in that direction.
Yeah. I think that's a point when you have that motivation and the enthusiasm about going somewhere, the fact that you have arrived. Sometimes when you arrive, you don't really care and you think, what's next? Because that's how the brain works.
Right. Yes. Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
then there's always something to look forward to. There's this future self. There's some interesting research about future self. I read a book, I think it's called Be Your Future Self Now. And just this idea of envisioning the future is motivating and helps you to work towards that.
Yes. And back again, I keep quoting Andrew Huberman or Huberman Lab, but yeah, I love neuroscience. And he was saying when he was talking about success in studying, when you go to school, he was saying how to study so you remember stuff. And he said, you can sit there and listen to people talking to you for ages. You can listen to the same lecture 20 times and you retain a very little part of this lecture. But the students, they really made it from medical school and, tough places where you have to learn a lot of skills and not just knowledges. The students had a very important ethical reason of why they were doing this work. They wanted to help their dad who was dying of cancer. They wanted to help the kids in Africa who didn't have a vaccine for cholera. whatever. And they were so much focused compared to the others. So for them, just reading once and then doing this test to see how they learned, it was way easier, a way to remember and to really put the skills into their neurons so they could use the skills straight away. So learning and then testing. And isn't life just like gardening and baking? Because when you're baking, you throw these ingredients together, and it's a lab, it's a chemistry lab. You throw the ingredients, you put the temperature, and guess what? Every oven is different, ventilated is not the same
Yep.
as the other. And then the yeast can be a little bit older, the flour might be a little bit rougher. So you will always get a different type of cake. So you adjust and say, well, in this area, we're high altitude here, 2,500 feet. So guess what? You have to change your recipe. And if you keep looking at the recipe, what you've done, take note and say, right, I'm going to adjust a little bit here and there. You will eventually bake to perfection. And the same in gardening, you will try how much fertilizer, how much water, how much air, how much light, until you see your plants are thriving. And can you imagine if a gardener put the seeds out, on the dry soil, which I see right outside of my window, and say, right, that's it. I throw them, and now that I've done, if it doesn't work, I'm done with it.
Right. Well, and that's what happens sometimes is we give up. Oh, we failed. It didn't work out. I'm
Didn't work.
never gonna do that
Yeah,
again. I tried to make pancakes and it failed.
didn't
We're
work.
never doing that again. Or I tried for that one role. I didn't get it. So I guess I'll just stay in this job
Yes.
that I have
Yeah.
forever. And
Ah,
we get stuck.
yes, it's me. I've done that. I remember because
Pancakes?
I know cakes I gave up a long while ago because me and sugar have this difficult relationship, love and hate. And sugar
Ah.
is narcissistic, wants all the attention. I'm like, no, chocolate though is allowed, but black. So when
Mm.
I moved to England in 1996, and I was like, oh, I really want a garden. So I bought this house. I had a garden. I was like, so exciting. So I was excited, not exciting. So I went and bought some seeds, and then literally put the seeds in the garden, put the soil, and went to bed. In the morning, I went out. I was in Norwich, East Anglia, and I realized to my huge dismay that a cat had been there and I had dug out every
Oh
single seed. And I was like, that's it, I'm done. I'm finished gardening for a year.
no.
I left
Hmm.
the garden. I was like, no, that's what happened to gardeners. That's what happened. There was no internet. It was like a new thing. So I was like,
Yeah.
what can I do? And a year later, I thought, how stupid is that? And so I researched, and I was like, oh, yeah, you have, if you're not sure about it, just sprout indoors and make a little plant grow until
Hmm.
it's 10
Hmm.
centimeters, and then you transplant it. And you can
Hmm.
put netting, I think, to protect, or you can use cold frames, and you can use polytunnels. And eventually, over 20 years, I managed to grow plants and grow my own tomatoes and olives and figs and plums and almond tree and all sorts. And I learned by failing
Yeah,
all the time. It is hard school of failing. And
it
that's what taught
is.
me how to garden. I'm not perfect. I don't think I'll ever be perfect. In fact, my almond tree died last year after giving me 300 almonds a year. It was very sad, but
Mhm.
I know how to take care of an almond tree, how to prune, it has to be going high. So all these things, how do you learn it? By doing, by failing.
Yeah, yeah. By trying
And
it out, seeing what works, seeing what
yeah,
doesn't. And I mean, gardening, it's so vast. There's so many different kinds of plants and fruits and vegetables and
mm,
different climates. And there's just so many nuances,
mm,
uh, like life and like work. That's why there's just this abundant world nature that we have that we'll never know it all. And that's okay. We're
yeah,
playing the long game.
yeah,
Everything's the long game. Just keep showing up, keep being consistent.
mhm,
I think it's these little tests, taking risks. I have found that yes, I've fallen down. And if you focus on building your resiliency, that's your ability to bounce back in situations, that can help you get through it.
mhm,
Leaning into a growth mindset, recognizing that every time that I fall, I can hold on to those feelings. I can say, this is how I feel in this situation.
mm.
And what can I do to make it better?
Yeah.
How can I move to action next?
How can you move to action? Can I just quote from somebody here? Bob and Brad, the two famous chiropractor on the internet. There is a song about. Look them up. They're two physiotherapists, basically, and then they show you lots of stuff. And one thing is, have you noticed that a lot of old people, let's say 70 years old, 80, they're terrified of going out because they might fall, because they know they feel frail. They're feeling very frail because they're weak, because they sit most of the time. Now, aside from those who are in a wheelchair, so I get it, but Bob and Brad, they're saying, wait a minute, the reason why you are frightened is because you know you're weak. And the reason why you're weak is because you're sitting, you're not using your muscles. And the reason why you're terrified of falling is because you don't know how to get up. And so he said, every day, go to the floor, go to a carpet and sit on the floor and trying to get up. Sit on the floor and try to get up, and try to use it without using the hands all the time. And if you do it over and over and over, even if it takes you 10 minutes to get up, your body, your brain, your mind will learn how to do the correct movement that is possible in your own state of health. So we're not giving medical advice here, okay? We're just telling you whatever you can do and try to get up. And as you keep doing it, the coordination, the skill, the integration with the muscular tissues and the strength of your muscles improve. And also you realize that falling isn't that bad because you can get up. And so if you fall because you are walking in the dark or you got distracted by something on the floor, guess what? You have fallen so many times. First of all, you're not paralyzed in fear. Second, you fall better. Third, when you come up, even if you have a bump, but you come up faster and better, and probably you haven't even broken that hip. But because you have fallen so many times, you can now fall safely. And that's the first lesson you do when you go roller skating. The first thing they teach you is how to fall. But it's the reason. So we have time for some good tips. So I'm here, I'm listening to Create with Franz, and I'm stuck in my situation. I think there is no way out, but I feel like a block. What is the suggestion? What can I do today to get started?
Yeah. So the first thing that I would suggest is getting clear on who you are. What are my values? And I think Brene Brown, she's got a great exercise on values that she shares where you list all your values. Could be 20 values, could be 25. List them all. And then you want to go back and you want to circle the ones that stand out to you the most, the ones that these are my non-negotiables. And maybe you go back and you circle 5 of them. And then 2, what are the top 2 values that I have? Those are your staples. Identify what your strengths are. And when I talk about strengths, these are things that strengthen you, energize you, bring you joy. Weaknesses weaken you, and sometimes we spend too much time on trying to fix our weaknesses. I'm very much the belief that we should focus more on our strengths and strengthening our strengths. And then what's my why? What's my purpose? Why do I get up every day? What impact, value do I want to bring to the world? I like to set a daily intention. When I wake up in the morning, my focus today is to get organized, or my focus today is to truly listen to understand because I have some coaching calls, or my focus is to be truly present because I'm leading a retreat or a workshop. So having a daily intention, what I want to lean into today, how does it align with my values, my purpose, my strengths? That's one, getting clear on who you are. And then I would say strengthening your growth mindset. Carol Dweck's work on this, her book Mindset, if you haven't read it, I'd highly recommend that. Watching movies about individuals that overcome obstacles like Hidden Figure, Remember the Titans, Rudy. Those are ways to strengthen your mindset. Journaling about things that didn't work out, failures that you had, what you learned from them, how you overcame something that was really challenging, something that was hard. Those would be my 2 main focus areas that I would recommend for people. Get clear on who you are and lean into that growth mindset where failure is learning and challenges are possibilities.
Excellent. That's a nice way of putting it. And thank you, Jen. It was very clear. And I think it's pretty much doable. Now, let's say that we have one problem is that every time we try to do something, maybe we have a panic attack, or maybe we have somebody who is actively trying to stop us achieve what we want. What could be a little escape from that? How can we cope if whatever we do, it cannot happen because something in our society or culture, family environment, maybe we're in an abusive situation, maybe we can. So how can we find peace and joy in this moment, in this space when we realize I want to do it and doing all the steps, but there are some forces that are stopping me? What can be a mental escape, do you think?
Yeah. So there's some mindfulness exercises that
Hmm.
I typically recommend. There's a great exercise. It's a combination of grounding and breathing where you trace the outline of your hands. And every time you trace up, you breathe in through your nose. And every time you trace down, you breathe out through your mouth. It's something quickly that you can do to help bring you back to the moment. I also appreciate visualization exercises. So things like I have some feelings, I can't get through these feelings. So envisioning that there is a stream that's moving, and on the stream are leaves. And so as your thoughts are coming together, place them in your mind on the leaf and let them go down the stream. And then the next thought that comes out, place it on the leaf and let it go down the stream. And as much as you can, don't judge the thoughts. I'm not accepting, I'm not necessarily rejecting, I'm not judging these thoughts. I'm just letting them flow through me. So those are a couple of exercises that I found very helpful. There's a book called The Illustrated Happiness Trap that has some amazing exercises for helping to diffuse emotions, not reject or hide them, but some exercises to help recognize and get you through some tough emotions. And that's what I really appreciate about the book is it's got just some great exercises, very practical tips that you can do within a few minutes.
Oh, well, excellent. Thank you. That is so great because everyone is a different situation, and we appreciate not everyone is do everything in one go. And we're talking about progress, not perfection. So
Yeah,
yeah, we have to
yeah,
get started. If things are really tough for you in this moment, if you think that it's just not possible, then maybe the block is so much bigger. Excuse me.
yeah,
And then that's the time when you want to go to a therapist, to a coach, and have a non-biased person see that. Because sometimes even the biggest of a problem, when you have another person in this equation and they see from outside something that we can't see because we have so many blind spots, little corners where we don't want to look there. So
yeah. Well, and the way that we see the world is very different than the way others see the world, and it's very much shaped by how we grew up, our past experiences, the trauma we may have experienced in life or even in the work setting, and that shapes our reaction and how we filter information. And so sometimes the blockage is so deep that it's really a matter of rewiring our brains and our nervous system.
yeah.
It's so much tied to the way that we react when we're stressed and when we're stepping out of our window of tolerance.
Mm-hmm. So true. And it is important to know that many times we are the ones that are blocking our own growth because we have put so many stakes. It has to be like this and it has to be like that and it has to be we can't eat anything, we can't go anywhere, we can't see anything because we have determined that this one experience we had 20 years ago is so important. And so that's we're limiting our life. And when we are full of limiting beliefs, we realize we want to change, we can't. That's when you go to a hypnotherapist, to a counselor, to a psychologist, to a psychiatrist, whatever you choose, and to a coach, because it is so refreshing to see you can actually let go of that. It wasn't so important after all, and you can still find happiness even if things are not exactly as you said they have to be, because happiness is not determined by these small little things that we do that have to be in that order, our OCD tendencies, we all have a bit of fixation on something. Happiness is determined by really living the life that you aligned to with, we have these values and we have to align the life and the activities we do to what we believe. And when we don't do that, then we feel there is something wrong. So if we're not doing that because we are the ones putting all these stakes and blockages and walls, let's work together to get these walls down. And that's why I do recommend to talk to a professional when it's possible. It's not always as expensive as you think. And it's a huge investment because you change your life and you live a life that you want. So what's better than that?
Yeah, 100% agree with you.
Yeah. So Jen Recla, thank you so much for coming to our show. You can go, guys, to let me just check the website. It's called jenrecla.com. Easy.
Yeah.
Easy. It's a .com, coaching and consulting for you right in the heart of Colorado. So thank you so much for coming to the show. I'm very happy you came over.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So guys, thank you so much. And I hope you want to click, share, subscribe. You know what to do. Follow us and see what we can do to get the life that you really deserve. Thank you and see you all next week. Bye-bye.